You're watching a recorded session from our virtual conference, Freelance Fest, brought to you by Top of the Funnel. Freelance Fest featured amazing sessions on everything from cold pitching and building a freelance pipeline to optimizing your LinkedIn profile. You can watch all of those sessions here on our YouTube channel, so be sure to check those out and subscribe. But I also want to invite you to become a member of Top of the Funnel. You can join over 4,000 writers, freelancers, entrepreneurs, and marketers who ask questions, share feedback, post pet pictures, find work opportunities inside our Slack community. It's 100% free to join. Just visit jointofu.co and sign up. Enjoy the workshop.
So in this session, we're going to talk about how to niche down and productize. So I get a lot of in-house marketers that reach out to me mainly because they want to transition from being in-house marketer to going solo, or I get a lot of solo founders that reach out to me and agency owners, and they want to know how they can niche down and further productize their offering. So this hasn't necessarily been a very straightforward process, but I tend to be pretty good at going through difficult things and then pulling out key insights for people that also want to go through those difficult things. But now you'll have more of a roadmap to kind of guide you along. And it'll probably take you less time than it took me to figure this out. So, to preface, productizing has changed my business completely. I don't have to work as hard, meaning there's not a custom solution for every client that I bring on. Every client gets virtually the same service. That's the whole idea of productizing. It's having really a specific set of systems that you execute over and over and over, despite there being different clients. I do something called, one of my friends coined the term, but it's called productized advising. So productizing usually means like you're selling one service offering to one niche, solving one problem. And what I do is I advise on the same problem over and over and over. And some people might think, well, aren't they eventually going to figure out how to solve it? Yes and no. A lot of them sometimes don't have the time to continue to solve the problem, so they keep me on. Other times, they'll learn it and they'll teach their teammates how to do it and they take the process and run with it, and that's totally okay. But I wanted to kind of walk you through what the process of not just niching down looks like, but what the process of productizing looks like too. So the first step is going to be narrow your job description. So when I say narrow your job description, I mean you need to figure out specifically what it is that you like to do and that you can get paid for. Now, am I saying you have to be absolutely passionate about it? It has to set your heart on fire, No. A lot of us marketers do marketing because we're good at it, not necessarily because it lights our soul on fire, and that's okay. The thing that you want to build your productized brand around is something that you can at least tolerate doing on a daily basis. So for me, I love bottom of funnel. I love the nuance. I love the difficulty. I like taking difficult things and simplifying them. Bottom of funnel tends to be very difficult, mainly because internal teams need to be aligned in order to be able to create it, and a lot of internal teams are not aligned. So there's a gap there. That's another thing I would recommend that you look out for. Whatever it is that you want to do, you need to try to find the gap in your industry that you can fill. So, what you do as a solo founder is going to be predicated on what you're good at, what you enjoy, and what you can get paid for. Again, like if you're an email marketer, great. What does that mean though? What's the Another thing I want to mention too is like when you choose the thing that you want to do, you need to specifically tie that thing to an end goal. So for bottom of funnel, it's inbound leads because that's usually the last step they take before they convert into a demo. So for someone in email marketing, that could look like maybe your thing isn't necessarily inbound demos because email marketing can drive inbound demos, but it also drives signups to your email, right? So maybe that goal that you're trying to hit with the thing that you do, right? So you do emails and the the goal that you're trying to do is bring in more interest from a top of funnel perspective, more like demand generation. Maybe you're trying to get them to like download um, maybe some sort of playbook or ebook that they have, right? But the important thing is just to make sure that whatever you choose to do, that you're tying it to an end goal, because your customer needs to understand that transformation that they're going to have. It's not it's not enough for you to say, okay, I'm going to do email marketing. Yeah, okay, so, right, you're going to do email marketing. That's going to result in what, right? So I also want to say, just because you're doing something now that's not appreciated in house, if that's the case, or you were in house and you were doing something and was not appreciated for it, doesn't mean that you can't get paid for it in the open market. So in my example, I was doing bottom of funnel in house, but it was just one of those things where it's like, oh, well, it's not a lot of search volume, so maybe it'll work, maybe it won't work, or, it's not like people was pouring everything into this, not the way it has been since I've been consulting. So I just want to say, like, just because your skills are not valued as high commodity in house doesn't mean that it won't be viewed that way when you go to the open market. So I just want to preface that. Now, moving to step two. Step two is going to be craft your differentiated point of view. So, in your industry, whatever that is, whether it's content marketing, it's email marketing, it's social media, whatever it is that you do, there is a status quo about that thing, right? Status quo meaning a large group of people that happen to believe a particular thing or an idea about this topic. So, example for me, I'm in SEO. So, a lot of people in SEO believe that if you target keywords with higher search volumes, that's going to, lead to attributable revenue. And that's totally not true. So, my differentiated point of view on that is that you need to focus on search intent instead of search volume. That's a differentiated point of view. Also, I believe that 95% or more of SEO tools are inflated and people do not need them. That's a very strong differentiated point of view. I also believe that teams should not task freelance writers with writing content, because your most important information is found internally and not through a Google search, which is how most teams tell their freelance writers to write their content. They tell them to Google the topic, and what they'll do is they'll take like the first 10 results and mash them together and call that a unique piece. That's not the case, right? So, all of those things that I just talked to you about was the status quo, and then my take on the status quo. And it needs to be the same for you, right? So, for example, like, maybe you believe in trigger based prospecting. So instead of just like gathering a list of emails from your ICP, maybe you believe that those emails should take certain actions, which then trigger for them to get certain emails, right? And think of it like this: your differentiated point of view are going to be that the hills that you die on, right? Because I'm pretty sure if you've been in marketing for any period of time, you have those things that you truly believe in, and you're just like, I don't care, nobody's going to tell me anything. You need to speak to that. And you need to speak to it over and over and over until people start to associate you with your point of view. So when people think of me, they think of bottom of funnel because that's all I talk about. And there's a difference between having a strong point of view and just being contrarian just for the sake of doing it. Like, not purposely getting a rise out of people, like trying to make people upset or anything like that. The thing is, people are going to disagree with you about your point of view, and that's okay. Because that was one of the things that I had to understand. I didn't want people getting mad and disagreeing with me and things like that. But honestly, if your point of view is not disagreed with, it's probably not strong enough, right? So it's okay to have that differentiated point of view. And when you find that and you solidify yourself there, what that's going to do is that's going to help you carve out your stance. And then what you want to do is like build content pillars around your stance. So for me, my content pillars look something like bottom of funnel, like comparison pages, and then middle of funnel. But those are kind of more general. But within those, I talk about my specific stance. So even with middle of funnel or jobs to be done style keywords, I talk about, instead of, again, going to Google and typing in how to do whatever and compiling those results, you need to talk to your customer success team to understand how the product works and then how your customers are using your product, and then you inject that information into the content, right? That's a differentiated point of view. So that's step 2. Okay, step 3 is where the productizing comes into play. And the way I've been able to productize is using something I call the lock formula. So going down this list one by one. So L is going to be list out everything that you do. I mean, from the moment a potential customer reaches out to you and wants to talk, what does that process look like? So for me, maybe somebody heard me on a podcast, or they seen me on a LinkedIn post or a guest post or something of that nature. And then from there, we'll have a sales call. And then from there, we'll go through procurement. And then from there, they send a contract. And then I do the onboarding. And then you want to list out everything that you do from the moment somebody reaches out to the moment you offboard them. O is going to be organize it from start to finish. So you need everything that you just listed out, you need to organize in subsequential steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So for me, what that looks like is step 1, we get alignment internally across the teams, like across sales, product, marketing, and customer success. We get alignment there on what the product is, what it does, and how it works. Step 2, I use that alignment to find high intent keywords that their prospects are looking for, and specifically with high purchase intent. Step 3, we fill in the content frameworks based on the previous 2 steps. Again, we're going straight in order. Step 4, we publish that content. Step 5, we track it. Step 6, we optimize and iterate, so on and so forth, right? But the important thing there is just that you need to organize it in step-by-step fashion. Now, maybe you don't know what this looks like right now, and that's okay. It took me probably like 3 or 4 clients deep to truly nail this down, again, because with a productized model, one of the awesome benefits that nobody really talks about with the productized model is having a very tight feedback loop. So your customers will tell you what they want, and they'll tell you what they want to change. So for me, I have my whole process built in Notion. So when they come in, before there was a little bit of friction with filling out all the information because it was so much. So I took that feedback and changed it around a little bit. Again, Notion is, a lot of you guys know what that is, but it's like a no code type of thing. So it's easy to take that feedback and just twist and iterate on it because it's built in no code. That's something I recommend as well. Building your system in a no code space keeps it organized and really is a big differentiator. I don't know how long that's going to be the case because a lot of people do use Notion and Coda and things like that, but they don't necessarily use it in this fashion. So I think there's still space to get in there and do something with that. And it's been a big differentiator for me too, because a lot of other SEO agencies and things like that use Google Docs. And then here I come with Notion and a completely different process. So that's been a key differentiator for sure. C is going to be create frameworks for each step of the process. So each part of your process should have a corresponding framework to it. So frameworks help you cut down a bunch of time, again, because you're not creating things from scratch. You're plugging customers into frameworks. Now, um, what that looks like for me specifically. So when customers come to me and they want help with their bottom of funnel content, we do nothing from scratch. Everything that we do is based on a framework that I have created. And I have created that framework based on what I know to work. And how do I find what I know to work is because when I work with clients, what I'll do is I'll write the article and I'll track how many inbound leads it gets. Once it gets a certain amount of inbound leads, I will build it into my static framework. Static meaning like, they don't change. They can change, but it's very seldom. And there's like 5 to 10 core frameworks. Again, just to be able to mix and match it up a little bit. There are frameworks based on funnel stage. So I have middle funnel frameworks and bottom of funnel frameworks. But every part of your process, you want to create a framework for it. Again, what creating a framework looks like is taking something that has worked previously and building a template from it. Doing that for every part of the process. So I feel like even when it comes to your sales process, you need to templatize that as well. So when somebody comes in and they're like, hey, I'm interested in your service, they need to go through the same process over and over and over. The more you try to customize per client, the more bogged down you're going to get. And it's just going to suck your time. Also, if you're somebody that's thinking about scaling later on, this is super important because this serves as almost like an SOP internally as well. In the event that you don't want to give your customers your frameworks, if this is something like you want to keep more internal, that's totally okay too. You just want to make sure you have it for every part of the process. All right. And K is know how to match each step to customer pain points. So every step of your process should directly match to a customer pain point outside of selling, right? So again, they come in, they're interested, you go through procurement, sign the contract, so on and so forth. From there, like when the onboarding starts, every part of your process should solve an individual pain point. So again, what does that look like for me? Well, I know when somebody comes to me with a bottom of funnel problem, they're probably misaligned, meaning they don't know what the product is, what it does, and who it serves across all the teams. So the first thing I do is lay out this canvas. And what we do is we fill in the canvas, which helps us get alignment across the teams. That's an individual part of my process that directly solves a specific pain point, which is the pain point of alignment or not having that. So again, even the frameworks that we fill out, that's solving the pain point of the team not having a foundation to go off of. So if they have freelance writers, a lot of them don't know how to write bottom of funnel content. Even their in-house writers aren't well versed on bottom of funnel content either. So having those frameworks there, again, can serve for either an internal purpose if you're an agency that's trying to scale bigger, or can serve for an external purpose if you're a solo founder like me and you're just like, I don't want to do that work. Because for me specifically, like I don't like writing like at all, which is kind of like how these frameworks came to play. It was a way for me to be able to do less work, but for them to still be able to get the result that they needed to get. So this is the lock formula. List out everything you do, organize it from start to finish, create frameworks for each step of the process, know how each step matches to customer pain points. Okay, so there's one more step to this. And the last step to this is selling the process. So very seldomly when I get on client calls, do I have to sell myself? Um, you could attribute that to brand affinity and things like that. But I more so think it's because of the strong process that I have. So when a client comes in, I'm not creating something custom for them. I'm not doing a custom proposal and, they want this thing, so I have to build it from, no. Like when they come in, they see the Notion that I have set up And what I do is I walk them, I say, okay, step 1, we gain alignment. Step 2, we do keyword research. Step 3, we fill in frameworks. It's the same thing over and over and over. Something else that's really, really powerful is showing them other case studies that you have of customers that have ran through the same exact process. And the reason that's powerful is because predictability eases uncertainty. If they've seen that their counterpart has had a good experience with you, naturally they think they're going to associate themselves with that and think that they're going to have a good experience with you too. So while some people might preach the custom thing, I found that my close rates are extremely high. And I think that's because instead of trying to say, okay, I'm going to bend and break to you, I'm going to say, no, you don't have to worry about anything, because what I'm going to do is plug you into this process that has been proven to work. And here's this person that did it. Here's that person that did it. This person that did it. It helps them picture themselves going through your process. All right. So just to double back on this one more time, step 1 is going to be narrow your job description. You should not be doing everything. You should be doing a very specific function. Step 2 is develop a strong point of view. This is the status quo, and this is your point of view. You need to have a differentiated take on the common status quo, right? Step 3, use the lock formula to productize. You need to be doing the same process over and over and over and over. Step 4 is sell the process. Again, you have a strong process, you have to do less selling of yourself. Of course, people have to know, like, and trust you. That's true. But they also want to know that you're going to get them results. And this carries the load. It also increases close rates quite a bit too. Hopefully you enjoyed this talk. It taught you something. And yeah, let me know if you liked it. Thank you so much.